The iPad is problematic. It started out in 2010 as a giant iPhone that doesn't make phone calls, and over the years it evolved to look more like a laptop, but it doesn't do laptop work. Now, in the latest operating system update, Apple is making the iPad look more like a Mac. There are multiple windows you can open up, and you can slap them everywhere, and there's a menu bar, and there's a cursor, and there's a filing system, and a preview app, and tasks are working in the background. These are the tools and the interface that we associate with getting work done. We have been waiting 15 years for Apple to realize the iPad is good enough to replace our MacBooks. But Apple has been holding the operating system back, keeping it as a big brother to the iPhone, but with a pencil for doodling. So with the updates announced in iPadOS 26, the internet erupted with elation. Social media posts went wild, proclaiming the death of the MacBook. Finally, the iPad can replace your laptop. Well, hold on, not quite. It is a little better. We are so close to getting the dream tablet. But Apple is still holding it back from being a true MacBook replacement. Let's go over the one more thing Apple can do to fix iPad's biggest problem, which is iPadOS. It is exciting to see Apple giving the iPad more of these get work done tools in iPadOS 26, which is coming out in the fall. And that's because the iPad has often been seen as something used for consuming content, reading, watching video, gaming. After all, Steve Jobs, in his original pitch for it, just focused on how great content looked on it.
It's so much more intimate than a laptop, and it's so much more capable than a smartphone with this gorgeous large display.
Over the years, when Apple Pencil was added, you saw that you could use the iPad for taking notes, making presentations. Maybe if you did art on it, you could justify its existence. But if you're in a workplace or school that is beholden to certain programs, well, you were stuck on a Mac system. The iPad was for note-taking and creative whimsy, and the MacBook was for real work. But do you bring both on a trip? And what's so ironic is that the iPad could easily dominate Macs as some sort of hybrid, like a Microsoft Surface device. At one point last year, the iPads had a better processor than the MacBooks. But iPadOS and iPad apps are designed for touchscreens. Mac programs are not. We are forever divided by what programs we need to run, and it doesn't have to be that way. My colleague Scott Stein has reviewed iPads for over a decade, and he's got one idea on how to fix it all.
I already travel a lot of times with an iPad and a laptop. I just want to travel with one. What do? It's not that hard. Press a button here and have it turn into a Mac. Then you press that button and then it goes back to being an iPad. Apple's already doing this basically with iPadOS 26. They're turning it into a more Mac-like environment with the tap of a button and control center. It's mostly like a Mac, but I want it to be completely a Mac. Figure that out, make the button, and then I only travel with one device. And why can't the apps work on both? I mean, right now, if you're a pro user who's doing something particularly on a MacBook with the apps that you use, you have different iPad apps and you have different Mac apps. I want to run that exact Mac app on the iPad. They run similar chips. They have similar amounts of RAM. I mean, run what's capable on a MacBook Air on something like an iPad Pro and allow the apps to be cross-compatible. Yeah, that's going to take some work, but I bet Apple could figure it out.
Macs are better at many things. Better at hooking up multiple monitor displays, because you can't use a monitor with a closed iPad. On a Mac, you can have more accessories and you can customize them, such as your buttons on a mouse. And a Mac lets you have multiple profiles. An iPad is just for one person. There was an Apple marketing video for iPad Pro that teased us with the question, what is a computer? It sparked anger, and it triggered folks for a kid to not even know what a computer is. But honestly, how could that kid know a computer if they haven't used a Mac? An iPad is not a computer if it can't handle grown-up computer programs. The changes to iPadOS 26 are a sign that maybe Apple does recognize that the iPad needs to become more like a Mac. And if it is between two worlds, can Apple ever admit that it needs to play in both worlds as a true hybrid device and transform into a Mac when needed? Tell me, do you see yourself using an iPad more with the new iPadOS 26? Let us know in the comments, and I'll see you next week for one more thing.